This is a huge, huge oak tree, a portion of it that just came crashing down last night. But take a look at the video and you can see how much damage these old oak trees have actually done out here at this neighborhood community. They say when all of these trees came coming down, they literally started pulling power lines down, and that was part of the problem. Good news, no one out here was hurt.
Believe it or not, everybody seems to be okay, and that's the best thing about it, is because we're all so close that we don't want to see anything happen to each other. So, you know, it looks like they all vacated.
It's getting so much worse out here. Those people were unable to get out of their homes. The wind just really picked up, the rain coming down. Take a look, Duke Energy out here now. They're trying to restore the power to this neighborhood, but all these people are under a mandatory evacuation in Humvees. They've already taken out 15 to 16 people from the neighborhoods back here, and this water is extremely deep.
The wind is still very bad out here. It's starting to pick up when you walk a little bit more towards the water. You can see the boats really rocking out there. Take a look at this video now. So this is video from last night, and that is the amount of water that was just pushed up here on the boardwalk. Spoke to a few business owners. They say they haven't seen too much damage. They worked all through the night cleaning up any water that maybe have soaked through their businesses, but they say they're okay right now.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. We want to show you these live pictures from Tybee Island, Georgia, where Tropical Storm Hermine is hitting right now, bringing heavy wind, rain, and strong surf.
It roared across northern Florida overnight as a Category 1 hurricane. Up to 100,000 people in Tallahassee have no power. Flooding is causing a lot of problems as well. Emerald Mora of our Tampa affiliate WTSP is in Hudson, Florida, one of the coastal towns north of Tampa, currently underwater. Emerald, good morning to you.
Good morning. The people here in Port Richey overnight got pounded with a lot of rain, as well as some very, very gusty winds, also a lot of lightning. But the biggest problem, as you can see in this area, is flooding. In every single direction that you look, there is nothing but water. So you can see how serious of a problem it is for the people out here. Things got so bad that crews had to pull out their emergency vehicles and start rescuing people. And so far, they have had to evacuate at least 18 people. Now, we did talk to some people in this area, and they've been doing everything to protect their homes. They've been sandbagging. They've been doing everything that they can, but a lot of people here are just worried that that is not enough, and some people here fear that they are going to lose everything. Nora.
Ils ont trouvé mon fils devant la porte, sur la route. La voiture noire est arrivée. Il a garé. Il a baissé la vitre. Ils étaient à deux, l'autre. Il a tiré deux coups. Voici les cartouches là qui sont là. C'est pas parce que nous sommes des opposants qu'on vient nous tuer comme des chiens. Non.
Saudi Arabia's warplanes continue their airstrikes on Yemen, killing more people in the Arab country. In the latest attack, Saudi fighter jets targeted a house in Al-Hab district in the capital Sana'a. The raid left 4 women and 5 children dead. Saudi Arabia launched the war against its southern neighbor last March in a bid to bring the ousted Yemeni president back to power. The onslaught has left over 9,600 people dead since then. Now, at least a dozen people have been killed in 2 bomb blasts in northwest Pakistan. The explosions happened outside a district court in the city of Mardan in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Over 50 others were injured in the bombings. Officials say one blast took place after a bomber detonated its explosives at the entrance of the court building. The twin blasts came hours after unknown gunmen attacked a Christian colony near the city of Peshawar in the same province. All 4 assailants were shot dead by security forces. 1 Christian citizen died in the crossfire. Local authorities say the attackers intended to explode their explosives in the Christian community, but their attack was successfully foiled. A pro-Taliban group called Jamaat al-Ahrar has claimed responsibility for both the Mardan and Peshawar attacks.
Take you back to that breaking news of a shooting, which is now a death investigation.
Police are blocking off streets near 28th Terrace and Cleveland in Kansas City. That's right near the Jackson Street exit along I-70.
41 Action News reporter Belinda Post is there with the latest. Belinda?
Yeah, more and more officers and detectives are getting here as they are investigating this as a homicide. Again, the man was found dead in the street behind me. We're over at 28th Terrace in Cleveland right now. Now joining us is Stacy Graves. She's actually with the Kansas City Police Department. So if you can, what's the latest you know?
Just around 5:46 this morning, officers were called to the 2800 block of Mercington on a shots fired. Upon arrival, officers located a male deceased in the street. He's described as a black male in his 20s, and due to the time of day, we figure people probably moving around, we just ask if anyone heard or seen anything to just call the TIPS hotline or call police.
And where did your first instance, when you heard about it, was that through a call? How'd you know to come to this area?
Yes, we called here at 5:47 or 5:46 on a shots fired call.
Okay, and what's the next step in this investigation?
You know, the situation where we're at right now, detectives are on scene. They're doing an area canvas. They'll be knocking on doors, just trying to see if anyone had seen or heard anything this morning.
Best of luck on your investigation. Thank you so much, Ms. Graves, for coming out. Again, police also tell me they're out here gathering evidence as well as taking photos, just trying to figure out exactly what led up to this homicide.
Немыслимые нитки сплошные, короче, одни кости, короче, такое. Пока мне в ноябре аж перекомиссия. Ну, сейчас... Я же открываю, короче, опускаются балаклавы, залетает эта толпа, 4 человека, без шевронов, без представления, без погонов, без удостоверений, без ордера. Ты понял, зачем мы пришли? Я говорю, да как бы не совсем. Ну ты, короче, понял. Без 5 дней 600 дней получилось. С 9 декабря 2014 года до 25 июля вот нынешнего года, получается так. Ну, мы считали уже, мы ни календари не вели, ничего, мы считали все, короче, каждый день в голове. Ну, знаете, когда в тюрьме сидишь, да ладно, знаешь свой срок, как-то спокойнее себя ведешь, а тут ждешь каждый день этого обмена или свободы, каждый скрип за дверями напоминает о свободе, как бы. Сидел, замерзал в этой метр на 2, короче, комнатушки, там типа вентиляторное помещение. Там вода, блин, замерзала, короче, ни в туалет ничего не выводили, получается 5-литровая баклажка ходить в туалет. И воду, что дали попить, она через час замерзла, короче. Из всего, на чем лежать, это каремат убитый такой, что я, в принципе, что не добили почки, то я отморозил их за 5 дней там, короче, получается.
While you were sleeping, Buffalo police were investigating a shooting on Barthel Street. This was about 12:30 this morning, right between Walden and Genesee. It's just a few blocks away from MLK Park. One person here taken to Erie County Medical Center. At this point, there's no word on that person's condition.
As we told you, we're learning now it is a death investigation.
Now, police are blocking off streets near 28th and Mercington Avenue in Kansas City, and that's near the Jackson Street exit right along I-70.
And 41 Action News reporter Belinda Post is near 30th and Mercington Avenue, not too far away. What's the latest, Belinda?
We're actually at 28th Terrace and Cleveland, and I just talked to a police captain. In fact, they say that this is where they found the body of a man. He was in his late teens or early 20s, and they are calling this a homicide investigation. Right now, take a look back there. You can see several officers and detectives really moving around the area. They're looking for evidence. They're taking photos. They're doing everything they can to conduct this investigation to try to figure out what led up to this murder and what led up to this man losing his life. Now, they do say that he was shot and killed. That's a preliminary report. Of course, they're waiting on the medical examiner to get there to do its full investigation. We will keep bringing you updates as they become available. As far as a traffic impact, 27 to 29 is blocked off, and from Cleveland to Myrtle. Again, we will bring you updates throughout this hour.
The Russian president has said that oil exporters should reach a deal to free supply. Vladimir Putin said he expects exporters to find a compromise on the Iranian oil output. The Russian leader noted that Tehran is starting from a very low position and it would be unfair to leave it on its sanctioned level. Putin also said that he would convey his position to the Saudi Arabia's Deputy Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. The previous attempt to free supply collapsed in April after Saudi Arabia insisted that it would join the initiative only if Iran were on board. Tehran has repeatedly emphasized it will not cut production at the time, arguing that it needs to regain the market share it lost due to several years of sanctions. Oil prices have fallen around 70% since mid-2014 due to oversupply and low demand.
As police right now are on the scene of an officer-involved shooting pinpointed on the map right here in a neighborhood just off of Deer Valley near 35th Avenue. It's east of that location. I want to get right out to ABC 15's Katie Connor for the latest on this one. Katie, you're the first reporter on the scene. First, I want to ask you, how is the police officer here?
No officers were actually hurt in this shooting, Chris, but we are a little bit from the original scene. Let me kind of point it out to you. It happened in the neighborhood behind me in the corner where you can kind of see flashing lights above the walls right there. Now, we were here as one person was rushed to a hospital just after 3 a.m. Police are not releasing a ton of information, but they are calling this an officer-involved shooting that happened just before 3 a.m. Again, we know one person was hit, their condition not known. No officers were injured during the shooting. Back out here live, you can see the entire street here, Deer Valley, lined with undercover detectives and patrol cars, all going in and out of the crime scene over there. Right now, Deer Valley is shut down between 33rd Avenue and 35th Avenue. So, Chris, just make sure to avoid this area if possible.
Roads closed there, Katie.
The FBI says a dangerous child predator is on the run this morning, and they're warning he could be in the western New York area. Here's the story. Authorities say this man, who you see in these photos, abducted a 6-year-old from her home while everyone was sleeping inside. This happened near Cleveland, Ohio in May. Investigators say that unidentified man held the girl for 17 hours before he later dropped her off. They say she was harmed by this man, but they haven't released any other details. Now, this same guy is wanted in connection with another attempted abduction in February. Police say he may have found his victims through social media. The FBI says because Ohio is so close to western New York, they want everyone here to be on high alert.
A prominent rights organization has slammed Bahrain's intensified crackdown on dissent after Manama revoked the citizenship of top Shia cleric Ayatollah Isa Qassem in June. The Amnesty International has called for immediate halt to, quote, heightened crackdown on peaceful critics and opponents. The rights group says some 60 Shia clerics have been summoned or arrested for taking part in the sit-in that has been held outside Ayatollah Qassem's residence in Deraz. It also says 4 of the arrested clerics were sentenced to between 1 and 2 years in prison, while 9 others were facing trial. Scholars of the Ulama Islamic Council have condemned this as unfair. The jail terms against the head of the council and other Shia clerics. The council's clerics have stressed that the intensified crackdown on dissent will not stop them from seeking justice. They've called on Manama to release all political prisoners. Several explosions have rocked the Iraqi capital Baghdad, killing at least 3 people and wounding 11 others. We were earlier joined by our correspondent Altaf Ahmed, who gave us the latest on the bombings.
It seems to be an accident that has taken place in an arms depot, in an old arms depot in the region of Al Ubaidi, which is east to northeast of the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. It seems that there has been some sort of accident inside the arms depot that has led to some of the arms inside to go off. This has caused has killed at least 2 people and injured 11 others. According to Mr. Mann, the injuries were quite minor, and I would presume that the 2 people who were killed were people who were inside the arms depot. However, we cannot label this, and I don't think we're going to hear a claim of responsibility for this accident by Daesh Takfiri militants. It is also safe to say that today, as you said there, major commemorations, Million Man event is taking place in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. Hundreds of thousands of people have begun to, black-clad mourners have begun to flock to Iraq's northern district of Qadimiyya since the early morning hours to take part in the commemorations aimed at marking the martyrdom anniversary of the 9th Shia Imam, Imam Jawad, who is buried in the district of Qadimiyya, north of Baghdad. So for this occasion, Iraqi security officials have beefed up security for the past couple of days. Today in the Iraqi capital, you cannot, for example, move from one part to another inside the capital.
Information tonight about what led to an officer-involved shooting in Huntington Park. It happened about 2 p.m. on the railroad tracks between 56th and 57th Streets. A homeless man was shot and killed. Detectives say officers got the call when a work crew trying to clear railroad tracks came across a homeless person who refused to leave. When officers arrived, they said the man armed himself with rocks. They used a stun gun, and when they tried to handcuff him, he picked up a pipe. That's when one of the officers opened fire. His identity has not been released.
Are you ready? Are you ready? We will build a great wall along the southern border.
U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has reiterated his anti-immigration stance after visiting Mexico and meeting with President Enrique Peña Nieto. The Republican nominee insists that Mexico must pay for the wall, although many analysts say that is impossible. He pledged that people who cross into the United States illegally would never obtain legal status.
There will be no amnesty. Our message to the world will be this: you cannot obtain legal status or become a citizen of the United States by illegally entering our country.
Trump's plan includes deporting immigrants with criminal records, cancelling President Barack Obama's executive orders on refugees, and tripling the number of immigration offices. The Mexican president condemned Trump's comments, calling him a threat to his country. He described Republican presidential nominee's stance on Mexico as a risk that must be countered. Immigration is Trump's signature issue as he battles Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton ahead of the election on November the 8th. Clinton has tried to show a totally different stance. She has expressed support for a pathway to citizenship for most undocumented people in the U.S. Her campaign called Trump's performance part of his, quote, campaign of hate. In the lead-up to the presidential election, a new poll by the Washington Post and ABC News has found that Clinton and Trump are the most unpopular nominees in America's modern politics. The poll found that 56% of Americans have an unfavorable view of Clinton, while 41% view her favorably. Donald Trump's ratings are even worse, with 63% having an unfavorable view and just 35% a favorable view of him. The last president with such low ratings was George H.W. Bush, who was in office from 1989 to 1993. Analysts believe that Clinton and Trump's unpopularity might be as a result of their controversial policies.
Many people are concerned about Hillary Clinton's positions on a number of issues, including her rather belligerent and hawkish foreign policy, such as siding with the Bush administration on a number of issues regarding Iraq, such as the invasion, Iran, Israel-Palestine, and related issues. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, of course, Donald Trump's racism, his lack of political experience, his lack of knowledge on a number of things, his temperament.
While some voters appear ready to vote for whoever they see as the least objectionable option on November the 8th, others say they're torn between the two candidates or plan to just sit out this election altogether. Meanwhile, many observers have arrived at the conclusion that it's high time America had a third party and ended the monopoly of the Democrats and Republicans on the U.S. politics.
Well, this is a heads up in regards to people out there that like their right to bear arms, and maybe some of you out there have a medical marijuana card. I want to make it clear that the U.S. court is upholding a ban on selling guns to anyone that has a medical marijuana card. Now, just because you would legally need some medicine for whatever it is that you're dealing with, they're going to say that you don't have a right to defend yourself. And this all was sparked in a lawsuit filed by S. Rowan Wilson, a Nevada woman who had tried to buy a firearm in 2011 after obtaining her medical marijuana card. She was shut down when the gun store refused, citing that there was a federal rule in place on the sale of firearms to illegal drug users. And the reason this is because marijuana remains illegal under federal law. And here recently, that was brought up for debate, as if they were going to reclassify it, reschedule it. They did not do so. They left it where it sits, saying that, you know, people can have the medical marijuana. And some states have made the move in making recreational use legal. But as far as the feds are concerned across the board, they're still deeming it illegal. And anyone that has this legal medical marijuana card cannot legally obtain a firearm. So I want to make that clear here across the board, as more and more people are, you know, searching down new avenues for medicine. This isn't just for potheads or anything out there. I'm talking people that really need this. Children have been saved not by smoking just marijuana, but using the oils and the other things that come from this plant.
Sunrise Newsfeed this morning, a 4-year-old child has started the process of transitioning genders with the help of the New South Wales Department of Education. They're helping the preschooler through the process before starting kindy to alleviate pressure.
Well, there is a growing number of young children seeking to change their gender. Among them, a 4-year-old in New South Wales who is yet to start kindergarten. Referrals to Sydney's Children's Hospital at Westmead for gender services have tripled, while Melbourne's Royal Children's Hospital is helping more than 250 kids. It's a very hot topic, very controversial this morning. Let's bring in news.com.au editor San Sankey and advertising guru Jane Caro. Dan, 4 years old, is it too young?
Well, of course it's too young. I mean, most 4-year-olds I know don't even know what they're going to have for breakfast, let alone have the mental and emotional capacity to make a decision on something that's as life-altering as gender transformation. I mean, I just think this is ridiculous. And now we've got state governments putting in place policies to allow this to happen for kids as young as 4. I think that's crazy. I mean, why can't we just let kids be kids? I mean, let them play with whatever toys they want, dress whichever way they want, and then later in life, when they actually understand what the process is and what that means for the rest of their lives, let them make that call and support them doing that. But 4 years old, I think that's crazy.
Jane, it sounds too young, doesn't it? But there are hundreds of kids involved in this. What do you think?
Well, I kind of want to bow to the experts on this because I don't really know a whole lot about it. But what I would say is this: there's transitioning and transitioning. If we're talking about hormone treatments and operations, then I'd be really wondering, I think this should wait. Any operation or hormone treatment on a very young child should only happen for good, like health, life-saving reasons. But if it's all about just living the way they want to, cutting their hair the way they want to, growing it or whatever, fine. Let them do what they want. And I'm prepared to say there are experts in this who understand this area a lot more than I do. I feel for the parents, I feel for the kid, I feel for teachers and everyone involved in it. It's very complex, and I'd leave it up to them. I am not in favour, however, of interfering actually physically with children of that age for any reason, unless it's to save their life.
So people in clown outfits trying to lure children into the woods with candy.
It sounds like a plotline out of some horror movie, but people in Greenville in an apartment complex there say this is happening to them. Brianna Smith spoke with the family who saw them first, so she's joining us live now in Greenville County at the Sheriff's Office with more. Brianna?
Amy, the Sheriff's Office has been working for over a week now to try and substantiate those claims that there were clowns in those woods, and so far they haven't been able to. But they're taking this really seriously, stepping up patrols and making sure that all the children there are safe.
They're at that tree back there.
Nat Arnold's mom is watching over him a little closer these days.
This is ridiculous. We got kids out here in this community.
That's after he came running home, saying he'd seen something strange in these woods.
One of them has all white face with black stars on around his eyes, and then one of them has a clown costume on and has red hair.
Clowns hidden through the trees.
There was clowns running in the woods telling the kids that they had candy and they would give it to them if they came there.
And while the story sounds too strange to be true,
it sounds far-fetched. It sounds like it's really out there, but I don't believe it. I believe it's true because there's too many sightings.
The Arnolds soon learned that they weren't the only ones on edge.
Turn around the next day, I had about 30 kids come and say, Miss Donna, there's clowns in the woods, there's clowns in the woods. And then it's just been every day since.
Fleetwood Manor wouldn't go on camera, but they tell me they've heard from dozens of people who live here, all with different stories about the clowns. That's why they've asked the Greenville County Sheriff's Office to do extra patrols, just in case something happens. This incident report shows that residents have heard chains banging on their doors, that the clowns have tried to lure children, and that they're running around the property, creating fear in these children's eyes.
That somebody's going to try to get me.
And frustration in the parents.
I'm at the point now, my kids are scared to even go to sleep.
This story has made national headlines all day, even trending on Twitter for a while. But Greenville County deputies say this is a normal case for them and investigating a suspicious person, and that if you have any information, they're asking you to call the sheriff's office or report if you do see these clowns.
A North Texas man says he is not backing down after his HOA ordered him to take down a Back the Blue flag, and now his neighbors are joining that fight. Vilma Avalos live tonight in Corinth, new at 10.
Kaylee, since the HOA asked this homeowner to remove his Back the Blue flag, other neighbors here are backing him. In fact, on this corner, you're going to see 3 new flags flying just like it, with plans for other neighbors to join in on the fight. Rodney Ivester has been flying this thin blue line flag next to Old Glory since after the Dallas ambush attack.
It's simply being supportive of law enforcement.
Then this letter from the Oakmont HOA ordering him to remove it.
No noxious or offensive activity shall be undertaken on this property. That's upsetting. I mean, I take that as obnoxious and offensive.
Ivester says the letter, which calls the Back the Blue flag a, quote, altered American flag, followed a single complaint to the HOA that it was offensive.
I know a lot of people will look at this flag and there's certainly mixed emotions, but there's nothing more to read into it than simply I'm supporting our local law enforcement.
His story hit social media and neighbors quickly backed him for backing the blue.
It brought joy to my heart that more people are backing the blue, especially someone that I live next door to.
Camille Bowen is the daughter of a police officer. Her home now flying a flag just like Ivister's, as are two others. Neighbors bracing themselves for a similar letter from the HOA.
We're prepared. I check that mailbox daily and I'm sure we'll get it, but we're all in it together.
Ivester says, like his neighbors, most have been overwhelmingly supportive, but he has received some threats online.
We're going to come down and take your flag. We'll teach you a thing or two.
Yet, he's still not backing down.
In America, that's a great thing with living here, is we have the ability to express ourselves.
Important to note, we did make several attempts to reach the HOA, but we are still waiting to hear back. Ivester tells us that he received a second letter informing him that the only flags allowed are the U.S., Texas, and military flags. We did spot a couple of team flags and even a UK flag in the area.
Tonight, take a look at these injuries on a 7-year-old boy. A Burmese woman who now lives in Indianapolis says the state's religious freedom law allows her to do this, discipline her child as she sees fit. But the Marion County prosecutor says it is child abuse. RTV6's Derek Thomas reports.
Ken Partang attends this church that serves Burmese immigrants in central Indiana. In court documents, she said, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. The 30-year-old Tang is charged with battery against a person less than 14 years old and neglect of a dependent. This is a photograph of the wounds on the back of her 7-year-old son that she allegedly administered with a plastic coat hanger. Tang's attorney filed a legal argument that the charges should be dismissed because of religious freedom. Prosecutor Terry Curry saw this coming.
We've been frustrated with the RFRA law since the point that it was enacted because as we advised at the time and told legislators if you didn't exempt out criminal code, people were going to assert this as a defense to what otherwise is criminal conduct.
Tang's attorney Greg Bose would not do an on-camera interview, but we talked to Burmese immigrant Reverend Ray Mung about cultural differences that may have given Tang the impression that what she was doing was not illegal.
The government has no authority, legal authority to intervene the parents how to discipline the children, unless there's a life threatening. That's the situation in Burma they come from.
Those laws don't apply here. That picture of the child's back could be a compelling piece of evidence at trial. We talked to veteran defense attorney Jack Crawford.
People use belts, they use electrical cords, and our Supreme Court has approved that use of those items for discipline, as long as it's reasonable. You can't beat a child 1,000 times with a belt and say it's reasonable discipline. But can you hit them with the plastic coat hanger, let's say 20 times? I don't know. That's why we have juries.
After Tang was arrested, she took parenting classes mandated by the juvenile court. She learned discipline methods other than physical